And you can send the questions via the web tool of GoToWebinar. And my lovely colleague Francesca is with me today, and she will collect all of the answers and will receive them to me afterwards. So after that, we will have a short break, about 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm going to prepare myself for the practical part of the presentation, and we have a program. So one of my colleagues was assigned to be our demonstrator for today. And she has a really recalcitrant tattoo on her leg, and we are going to treat that. So that's a perfect example for Q-switch treatment of the removal today. So now I'd like to switch to the presentation mode of our NanoStar presentation. And you will be able to see me during the presentation. And as I mentioned, you can ask Francesca all of your appearing questions during the presentation via the chat function. And then we will well, and hope today everything's going to work with the IT department. And yeah, I say enjoy, and let's go on. It's live. Guys, it's live. So I'd like to introduce the new state-of-the-art Q-switch laser from our Q-switch family. As you all know, we have a long tradition now, over 20 years of experience with Q-switch lasers. And you also know that we have our family of the TRUNGMY that started with the Ruby Star in 1998. And this was going to proceed to 20. So 2019, we had the launch of our new Pico Star. So what we were thinking about placing a new Q-switch device to the market was that a lot of doctors are very used and really experienced with Q-switch laser technology. And we thought, well, of course, we are really convinced about our Pico second laser, our Pico Star, and we know that this is a great addition to Q-switch laser family, and it's very well accepted in the market. But we also have the other side of doctors, and also in Asian countries, they love to use nano second lasers, and they're very used to do Q-switch treatments. And so we thought about why not using this very well-known technology and adding some new features to it. And this is the reason why we meet today. And I'd like to show you all of the new features of this great device. So, we are able to fulfill a new state-of-the-art in the tattoo laser market, to add this to tattoo laser market. And we have the possibility to treat a lot of varieties of patients with Q-switch laser technology. So we have our perfectly stated NanoStar here in the middle. You can see that. No, you don't see that. I'm sorry. Yes, again, it's live, so I don't know. Okay. So you can see that we have our NanoStar here. So we have the different details of the technical data of the device. So it is a Q-switch laser with an Ruby and Nd:YAG source of a class 4 laser. We have 3 different wavelengths, so 694, 532, and 1064. So it is a frequency doubled Nd:YAG. And we have the different maximum fluencies on the left, pulse duration, the frequency, and the different spot sizes. In fact, we have different spots for different indications and also for fractional treatment. So we are able to do a lot of treatments with a lot of indications for classic tattoo removal, also for skin rejuvenation, for melasma, for all kinds of pigmented lesions, and also for classic acne scars and just, the better appearance of the skin. So we have, in fact, the Q-switch mode. We have an OptiPulse mode. I will come back to that later. Photothermal mode, a deep fractional mode, and the high coverage mode. And these DF and high C HC handpieces are both fractional handpieces. Unfortunately, I don't have the fractional handpiece today. So for the fractional ones, it will be just a theoretical part today. But we can do another presentation later this year to introduce you better to the 2 fractional handpieces. So we go on with the features. So I hope you can see that. Yeah, it's perfectly working. Good to know. So we see the experience and the features. So, I've already mentioned that we have a lot of experience with Q-switch laser technology. And here we have a new device. So it's basically a new momentum of the past combined with new features of the future. So you can see here on the right, I'm sorry, a little interruption for IT department. So yes, is it going to work? No, it's not. So I'd like to do my apologies for that. So can I proceed?
Sure, just a moment.
So perfect. I'd like to see my screen. So we go on with the features. So I hope you can see that. Yeah, it's going to be working. Okay, I'm back again. So we were talking about the features.
So we have with the new device a new high energy and speed level. We have an OptiBeam and mixed technology. I will come to back to that later. We have automatic spot size detection, which is really easy and comfortable during the treatment for the operator, so you don't have to calibrate all the time. We have numerous handpieces, so we have different spot sizes and the different fractional handpieces for different indications. We have plug-and-play technology and a really nice guided user interface. So when we talk about the market for tattoo removal, you can see that we have alone in Germany 8 million people with tattoos, and this number is increasing every day. In France, we have about 6 million, and in the US, we have about 45 million people with tattoos. So there is a huge market for laser treatment. And we have around 200 euros per laser treatment. And every 15 minutes, there will be 7 laser treatments. So there is a huge turnover per hour and also per patient. So this is a very useful market for you as well. So we also have a big market for picosecond lasers and for fuse switch lasers regarding pigment removal. So as you all know, with aging, there comes a lot of really lazy melanocytes, and we are going to develop also, because of extrinsic factors, a lot of pigment. So for almost 90 of all the Caucasian skin types, we develop solar lentigos. And this means that millions of people are affected of that, also in Asia. So we have in Germany, France, and the US, millions of people who are looking for laser pigment removal. So now it comes to our topic of the day. So we have our Q-switch technology, and we are able to concentrate the energy into very short pulses in nanosecond range. And as you might know, we are also able to basically work on pigment with millisecond technology, but this does not need the same amount of energy and the peak power. And as you know, we are in comparison between thermal mode and photoacoustic mode. So of course, when we use nanosecond technology, we are really close to a photoacoustic effect. And this is going to have a lot of features during the treatment and afterwards for the patient. So here we have the comparison about long pulse and Q-switch. As you see, the different pulse length, the power, spot sizes, and the density of power. So I was talking about OptiPulse technology, and with OptiPulse technology, we have the possibility to evenly distribute the fluence that we select across 2 different parts of pulses. So we have, in fact, 2 pulses with a delay time in between. And this is a big advantage also for the Asian skin type. So we have, in fact, a reduction in laser purpura after the treatment. We have a reduction of erythema in the skin. So this is, of course, a great patient comfort. And we have a low risk of PIH. And as you might know, when we talk about tattoo removal and pigment removal, PIH is one of the side effects that we have to handle. So this is going to be our photothermal mode, and it's kind of a free running mode for our wavelengths of 1064 and the Ruby wavelength. So this is also very useful application to heat, as it says, a photothermal mode when we want to heat a certain kind of target structure. So, for example, when we do skin rejuvenation, when we have acne scars, when we have rosacea, the intima of the vessel, or when we want to put of heat into structures like the nail, when we have onychomycosis or nail fungus, their photothermal mode is very useful. And we have the possibility to also do a combination together with a fractional treatment. So what you can do with other laser technologies, you are able to do this as well with NanoStar because of the features of fractional handpieces. So really important in this point is you see this, you have a long single pulse, and we are able to have the pulses with an NDX of 300 microseconds, and we have an emission of 2 milliseconds with the Rabi wavelength. So what makes NanoStar special as well is our OptiBeam technology. And OptiBeam, in fact, means that the generated beam is more perfect, and you can avoid hotspots, ensuring that you have a perfect treatment. So whenever you see Q-switch laser, a lot of them have these round spots. And when you're doing a treatment, there is the possibility that you overlap. You always, in fact, overlap. And some of them are also proceeding in like Olympic rings. So you have at least 10 to 20% of overlapping. And we know when you have a square beam, it's much easier to proceed and to ensure a really good treatment without overlapping, without hotspots, and you don't miss any part of the tattoo. You can work more precise, and also you are faster because you don't really need to think about, oh, I don't like to overlap and I need to ensure good treatment. So you just do it. You have 20% of shorter treatment time compared to a round traditional. So this is how it looks like. You can see the comparison between a round spot laser and the optimated beam. And you can see here the other feature of NanoStar, what we call mixed technology. So mixed technology, and this is very important, NanoStar comes in different varieties, so different options of the device. So with NanoStar C mixed technology, we have the possibility to process mixed technology. And this is, like some of you know, from other laser hair removals, but especially for pigmented lesions in tattoo. So we are able to deliver the energy from different sources. So we can use Ruby and NDX, for example, and we can deliver at the same time or with a small delay the energy. So this is one of the examples for Ruby in combination with 1064 NDX. So as you know, from an absorption level and from the target level, you have different advantages in each wavelength. So when we talk about pigment treatment, the 1064, of course, has absorption in melanin, and it has a higher depth of penetration. But it's also absorbing in oxyhemoglobin and lipid and water. So when we talk about melasma, then we are very effective, and trials have shown that when we use the low depth of penetration and the high absorption of melanin, because as you know, 1064 has a very, very low peak at melanin. And when we combine the features of a higher depth of penetration with a 1064 and a better absorption of melanin with a 694, then we are really, really effective in treating melasma. So for this, the NanoStar C, it's called NanoStar Combo Mixed Technology, is very, very good for this special kind of treatment. And it delivers a high efficiency and also a safety for the patient. We have another option. So when we talk about mixed technology with 694 and doubled NEX, so 532, then we also can perfectly treat pigments. And we can see 532 or a KTP wavelength, they are really good in absorbing melanin. And we have at 694 a wavelength that is also strongly absorbed by melanin and just a little bit with oxyhemoglobin. So when we use a mixed technology with the sequential emission of 694 and 532, then we are double targeting melanin absorption. And we also can have a reduction on the risk of PIH, thereby by maximating the efficiency and safety for the treatment with the patient. So these are our new handpieces. The spaces are completely sterilizable, so you can disinfect or sterilize the two spaces. This is perfect for the practice. So we have a click lock closure. There's a magnet, and this is really easy to handle for everyone. And we have an automatic detection. So whenever you change the handpieces, like different spot sizes, the system will know which spot size is detected and will automatically change it in the system and on the display. These are the different handpieces. And what I found really good about these new handpieces, that it's easy to remind which kind of spot do I have related to a different spot size. So when I think about the smallest spot size, then it's a purple one. It goes on with 3x3, it's red, then 4x4 yellow, and 5x5 green. So it's really easy to adapt. We have the two fractional handpieces here. These are first one is the handpieces of 8 millimeters. So this is the deep fractional and the high coverage. So we have the high coverage on the right with 9 millimeter diameter, it's gray, and we have the DF, it's black. So we use a microlens area, in fact, for that. And so we ensure that we have a really homogeneous spot, and this is not dependent on a loss of fluence. So we have now with the DF, that's a deep fractional, and we can do a skin rejuvenation and a scar treatment at the same time. So it's perfect, it goes deeper, as it says, it's deep fractional. And then we have the high coverage. And this is really perfect for really a lighter, but a more efficient treatment of skin aging in combination with pigmentation. And also, what is a great addition with the fractional handpieces is that you can perfectly combine it with the tattoo removal. So imagine when you have, for example, an amateur tattoo that is very, deep and dense, and you might have some scar tissue underneath, like fibrotic scar tissue. You can do a fractional treatment in combination with the tattoo treatment to get rid of the fibrotic scar tissue and to reach another levels of the skin. So this is the technical data for the fractional handpieces. We have the 8 millimeters on the left, 9 millimeters on the right. And you can see we also are able to do a combination treatment of wavelength with different spot sizes and fractional handpieces. This is what I was referring to at the beginning. We have 3 different modes of NanoStar. We have the classic NanoStar R, that is the ruby wavelength. We have Y, this is ruby, and this is 1064, and we have 532. And then we have the combo that includes everything, all of the 3 wavelengths, and with also the mixed technology. So mixed technology is only possible with the combo mode. This is what you are going to see later, the state-of-the-art design. So you will see that live. We have a really nice user interface, and I like to say that I know a lot of lasers in the market, basically everyone, every laser, and this is really really easy to adapt. So we have the user interface that you are used to from our devices, really easy to handle with really intuitive user guidance, and we have this step-by-step selection screen that you're used to. So this is really easy to adapt. And this is the main screen, the laser screen on the left, and at the end of the side, and the settings. And you have a lot of possibilities to change settings, also the aiming beam, the density of the screen, or you can mute the sounds. Everything is possible. And you can change the fluence, the spot size, and you can see a counter if in your practice you're charging by counts. You can also counter, and you can return and save the count 0 back. And you can see we have the different sources available. The source is there. Color. Case, we are choosing the 1064 key switch, and this is locked in. So I think we were talking about selective absorption before, and this is a short overview again about how we can be very effective and successful with this 3 wavelength in absorption and penetration depth. These are the different penetration levels with the selective absorption. So we have once a 64 ruby with a low absorption, then in water, then
Zoom với vì làm sao nó chậm hơn hơi bài giảng thực tế rồi kìa. dao ở trong.
Of course, we don't want to have scarring. Most of the patients, they suffer of scarring.
Tiếng nhỏ lắm anh ơi.
Process is just can of course cause a scarring. So the patient doesn't want to have a time off. We don't really need anesthesia. So whenever we work with lasers, I recommend to use a similar system, so a cryo cooling system. And this is some kind of pain relief as well. So this has an anesthesia effect on the skin by having an effect of the vascular component. So this has a vasoconstriction effect, and this is of course reducing the pain level for the patient. But of course, as you all know, we are more enthusiastic when we get a tattoo. I don't have a tattoo, but I heard it's a lot of people that they are full of enthusiasm and they really want to have this tattoo. Maybe they are in love, and afterwards they split, and the partnership is over, and they suffering. And of course, this is caused by really more negative influences. And so the removal of tattoo itself isn't that painful. It isn't more painful than the inking itself. But there are not that much endorphins that you have by inking first. So whenever you see a doctor, it is combined with a lot of costs and with pain. So your endorphins are going very low, and this is causing this negative effect as well. So whenever the operator is going to offer you an aesthetic, then you can choose between either a cryo systems or similar system or topical anesthetics. So these are the different types of pigment typology. So we have different types of tattoos. Of course, the most common one is the professional one. We have the amateur, the cosmetic. So as we all know, this is like what is it called? Microblading or permanent makeup. We have the traumatic ones that are caused by accidents, and we have the medical tattoos. And as you know, the medical tattoos are not that common anymore, because in radiotherapy, especially in breast cancer, they don't use this kind of marking anymore. You see the different pigmentation depths here. You can see the concentration of pigment and the different pigment types. So you have in organic metallic dyes, you can have organometallic dyes, different kind of inks with different denses, or classic iron or titanium oxide. You can have carbons, metals, and of course, a lot of the traumatic tattoo types are caused by dirt. And all of these factors are having an influence on how you're going to be successful with the tattoo. It's not only, the technology that stands behind the tattoo removal. It's also really focusing on how the tattoo removal has been done, how professional it has been done, and of course other factors like wound healing and intrinsic and extrinsic factors. So this is a really nice picture of a pigment under microscopy. It's a microscopy imaging, and you can see two different arms with tattoo, and you can see it might looks equal, but it looks really similar. So the left and the right tattoo and the kinds of colors they use. But under the microscope, you can see really differences. So you can see the first picture that the pigment is red, dense, and the other picture has a really low density of color. So this is one of the examples that organic and inorganic tattoo ink can cause other densities of the pigment in the skin. So this is what we're going to do when we decide to have a tattoo. So a lot of people, they are worried about having a tattoo removal because they don't know how is the body going to handle it, or how are the lymphocytes and the metabolic system, the liver is going to absorb it via the phagocytosis. So they are worried about the tattoo removal, but they should be worried about the pigmenting and the inking at first. So this is about 1 micron, where the tattoo ink is in a professional way placed. So when you go to a professional tattoo artist, and you can see we have the macrophages, the fibroblasts, and the little veins right underneath. So it's really easy for the body for the ink to get everywhere it wants. So of course, there is a lot of absorption by the system first when you get your tattoo at first. So this is also the reason why professional tattoos are inked a lot of times. So it's not just one treatment when you want to have a perfect tattoo. So sometimes the customer is going to see his or her tattoo artist a few times until it's perfectly fine. So how many questions do we have now? Okay, perfect. So this is a really nice picture about the biological effect of a tattoo removal. So what is in fact happening into the skin? It's really, really interesting. You have, when you do tattoo removal, you can see the frosting effect. And what is it causing? So you have fading and a transdermal migration to the epidermis. And this is dermal-epidermal wound channels that we are creating. And then a phagocytosis by the macrophages are going to happen in combination and with the help of keratinocytes. And the most of the tattoo pigment is going to agglomerate in little clumps. And this is the clumps that the macrophages are attacking. And then the fibroblasts are coming, and some kind of inflammation process is going on to make the body be able to rapidly cleanse the body out of the tattoo pigment. So we have then this lymphatic migration into the lymph nodes and also to the liver and absorbing the pigment. This is going to happen during the inking and during the tattoo removal. So the process inside the body is the same. And you can see here, as I said, that you are going to agglomerate these little clumps of pigment. Of course, we have a shattering of the pigment into smaller pieces. So of course, smaller pieces are much easier to going to removed by the lymphatic system and to having a phagocytosis. So when we have these biological effects of the photodisruption during the tattoo removal, you can see we have this frosting effect. This is some kind of clinical endpoint for us. So whenever we do test spots for tattoo removal, we have to ensure that we have the perfect fluence and the perfect spot size for different kinds of tattoos. So we have, of course, also a thermal effect on the ink particles, and we are going to produce little channels so that it's basically like popcorn. The pigment is popping out of the skin, and it's going to have a transdermal release. So this is what you see, what the dermis is going to form, these little vacuoles. And this is the whitening of the skin, or as we call it, frosting. So this is a transdermal migration, frosting, and it's causing an effect, an injury on the basal membrane of the skin. So we have first the transdermal pigment that comes out of the skin, and the rest is going to form inside the body and is going to mobilize and to be removed by the lymphatic system. This is how it's going to look like inside a macrophage. So basically, phagocytosis is an explanation for the macrophage to eat any kind of enemy. So of course, in this case, the pigment is an enemy too. So what is going to happen afterwards as well, because inflammation is a process that can last for a couple of days, also a couple of weeks. So you can see this inflammatory process. So you can see an erythema and edema, of course. And inside your body, there's a lot going on. So the macrophages and the leukocytes are reacting to the ink pigment. So that's the enemy, in fact. And you have, the body is going to get rid of the pigment through this process. So when we look a few weeks later, when we have a look a few weeks later on the tattoo, so you have sometimes it looks like you have this fading of the tattoo, and this is in fact a reactive hyperplasia and with intracellular pigments, and that is the reaction that you have of the body getting rid of the pigment. So this is an extension. So again, this is the fade out effect I was talking to by injury of the basal membrane. And it also depends on different kinds of tattoo ink. So whenever you have very dense and anorganic ink, of course, you have to do more of this treatment and a longer rest or waiting time in between. This is a typical clinical endpoint you can see here. This is done by, I think it's done by a Ruby from one of our doctors in Germany. And you can see right after the treatment, you can see the frosting. And this is, of course, caused by extremely rapid heating and a photoacoustic effect on the pigment and these really, small vacuoles, evaporation in water and the little small vacuoles and channels that are producing pigment transdermally. We have a few examples for tattoo removal ongoing. So you can see tattoo removal with 1064 Unfortunately, I cannot tell you how many treatments have been done. Maybe Francesca knows. No, she doesn't know. And this is also DNA of an extra 2. And you can see there was a reaction before, and also afterwards you can see some kind of scarring. And that, I don't know what caused the scarring. Maybe it has been caused by the treatment or by the inking. This is also a really good example for scarring after tattoo. So you can see parts of PIH, you can see parts of hypopigmentation and of very superficial scarring. And you can see on the left when we have the before picture that the scarring was also visible at first. So in this case, the laser was not the major point of creating side effects. We have a tattoo removal result here again, done with a 1064 on the back. The most common Asian tattoos. I think some of the people, they don't really know what it means. So it could be everything. This is also really good. I will skip back. This is also a very good result. Of course, you can see a lot of residual pigment. But, you know, when you work with 1064, sometimes I would always recommend to do a 1064 first, and then maybe switch to another wavelength to get rid of this really recalcitrant pigment that is left. So in this case, it's a brownish color. We have tattoo removal on the arm. And for indications of pigment, this is it from tattoo removal side. We're going to switch to indications of pigment. And we can see all of the advantages of pigment removal with the laser. So we are really gentle. We, when we compare this to curettage, so that means a shaving of the pigment or removing of the pigment, the laser is very gentle. We are fast, we are virtually painless. We do not expect any scarring, and it usually takes 1 to 2 sessions. And this is depending on the pigment itself. So how dark is the pigment, and how effective is the used technology for the special pigment. So when we use this laser for pigments, and there will be a few customers that are not interested in tattoo removal, but they want to have a Q-switch laser just for the indication of pigment. So when we do a preparation for that, we of course have to clean the treatment area, remove any hair cosmetics or deodorant, and then we see another clinical endpoint. So we don't have this frosting, but we can see a change of the lesion. So it's going to be a whitish gray skin change, a slight whitening, and this depends on how dark the pigment is. So the darker the pigment, the stronger the reaction. And this, of course, is done by photothermal effect. So it's selective photothermolysis of the pigment and a bit of evaporation. And you can see also just a few vacuoles that are causing also this effect. And you have an exfoliation after a few days to weeks, and you are shattering, you know, the pigment, and it appears more light when you have your first pigment removal. So there are 2 different types of techniques for that. We can have really small areas with a point-by-point coverage, and we have, you know, some kind of polka dot technique that is really suitable for larger areas that you treat. And of course, the laser is not doing any, I missed the word, Unterschied. Oh yes, it's different. It's just a normal word. It doesn't make any difference between an ink and pigment that is brought to the skin with a tattoo artist, or that is natural in your skin. What it does at the end is to also split it into smaller fragments, so that the body is able to get rid of it more easy. So we have a few examples for pigment removal. You can see this is also really nice. Immediately after the treatment, the clinical endpoint. So this typical grayish-white effect that we have. And this is also decided by an endpoint. So we're really looking for that actively. And after the treatment session, so a few weeks later, this is an old picture. I have to say that that's an old picture, but it's the same technology for pigment removal. So you can see pigment removal with 532 and a bit of rejuvenation as well. Another example, and you can see here the different pigmented areas are marked, and you can see relief on the right. So I have to drink a bit of water. Just give me a second. So this is a really nice example for a ruby treatment. It might be a chiasma or melasma, but it looks more like a cafe or like another kind of dyspigmentation. So in fact, if it's a melasma and you can only see that with a special lamp, there's no kind of vascularization under it. And the opposite is this lady, and she, as you might see, has also a lot of pigment and maybe with a component of vascular. So this is a mixture. And as you know, Asian skin types, they are really into, developing a PIH. So you have to be very, very gentle during the treatment and not causing any kind of inflammation that can cause a rebound. These are very good examples for ruby laser treatment as well. So again, on a darker skin type, and of course, when we talk about a darker skin type, we have to make sure that we don't create a hyperpigmentation. So you can see here a very slight hyperpigmentation in comparison to the rest of the face. And often it's going to fade after an amount to up to 6 months. Again, pigment removal. I have a lot of pictures for pigment removal. So this again, you can see we have a bit of inflammation afterwards. It's 1 month after the first treatment, but with a very good result. And of course, as it's normal practice, you can combine the laser treatment with topical ingredients like topical steroids, isotretinoin, retin A, same. You can combine this. Or azelaic acid, this is possible as well. But you should always be sure that you don't have any ingredients used to your skin that are causing a photosensibility of your skin. So that has to be avoided, of course. So we can see pigment removal with freckles on the arm, and of course we have to ensure that we only treat benign pigment. So this has to be under supervision of a doctor. Again, the face with a slight rejuvenation effect as well. And this is a very, recalcitrant and very severe case of pigmentation. So she will have a lot of treatments, and also in melasma, as you know, the patients, they're going to be your best buddies forever when you're a doctor working your practice on melasma patients, because there are so many factors that can cause a rebound of the melasma, so that you have to ensure maintenance basically all of your life, so for the rest of your life. So we come to the point of skin rejuvenation. That's also a really interesting part of the NanoStar. At first I said, okay, we will do a short introduction to NanoStar. I completely lied about that, because we have so much to show you that it's going to extend a bit. But as you can see, we have only 8 pages left, so we're right at the end. And I'm looking forward to your questions. How many questions do we have now? Yay! So they're increasing. I'm looking forward to that. So when we talk about skin rejuvenation, then and this is what, a lot of, especially young women, are going to avoid by using filters. That's the most common thing, to use a filter. And of course, to use topicals to basically fill the pores. So they fill the pores, and then they use makeup over it to really decrease the pore size. And what we do with the laser is we are creating a little explosion, because this is going to happen in the interaction with the laser beam. And this can cause by many factors. So we can cause it by a thermal effect, so a photothermolysis, by selective photothermolysis, by mechanical damage, and this is also very useful when you have a chromophore-like water. So what we want to achieve is reduction of the pore size. So whenever you talk about skin rejuvenation, of course you talking about pore size and wrinkles. This is a really good example for a pore reduction. So it looks like she has some comedones on the nose, but in fact these are hair filaments. So it's hair follicles, hair filaments, and this is very visible in fair skin types. So what we are doing is to basically remove these filaments and to have a better clearance in this part that makes it very attractive, This is a pore reduction with a Q-switch laser as well. This is done by TRUNGMY. We have skin rejuvenation on the forehead. Here done by Ruby. So in fact, we are at the end of the presentation. There's only a bit of bibliography going on. So you can see we have now, because of the long tradition of use which lasers a lot of clinical evidence. So this is very good for you and for your customers as well. This is going to support you in your selling process. And yes, we're at the end of the presentation. I'd like to apologize for the interruption. So are you going to see me now? Yeah, I say hello again. So I'm ready for the question and answers part. So I'm looking forward to that. And Francesca will tell me what you're going to ask, and I'm hopefully can answer them.
Yes, we have some questions.
Yes.
So I think everyone can do it. So the first one is, can you explain why you will use the ruby combined with the NDR 1064 for the treatment of melasma?
Yes.
And then the question says, I do not understand well why it reduces safety in melasma. Isn't there too much thermal effect?
Okay. So I will come back to the slide because I think this is much more easy for you. Can you still see the slides? Okay, it's perfect. So I have to skip a bit of my screen so that we can fully see that. You see that now? Oh no, it starts from the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm going to support that with the slide because then it's easier for you to see that. And the slide. We'll start from the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, I don't know if you're going to see me then. So, when we have the ruby and the NDX, we used the power of the ruby and pigment together with the penetration depth of the 1064. So that makes sense when we talk about a different kind of melasma. You know, there are different varieties of melasma. And of course, this is not perfect for every kind of melasma. But when you have really, you know, severe melasma and you need to have a penetration depth and when you have an epidermal and dermal part of melasma. So then it's very useful to use the synergy of a penetration depth in combination with a good absorption. And also when you use two wavelengths, you have a lot more of, you know, you're decreasing the factor of side effects. So in this case, we use a higher absorption again of 694 together with a penetration depth of 1065. So a lot of studies that have been done inside LN and the family has shown that this is really reducing any side effects. So at first it doesn't make sense. I really agree to that, but the result and the outcome is outstanding.
Okay. Second question. Is it possible to connect the ruby fractional handling to the NanoStar R, or is the fractional only compatible with the NanoStar CM?
So this is a question I need to ensure that that has to be skipped to our product management, but I think it's only possible with the combo and mixed technology. Yeah, we will clarify that. We'll come back to you later then.
Third question. Are the technical trials of the NanoStar available yet?
So this is a really nice question. I like that because I'm really into clinical evidence, as you might know, and we have a really new member of our product family at the moment. So you know, the NanoStar has been developed inside the family. So yes, we have clinical evidence to the technology, to the different parts, so the mixed technology, optipods, all the stuff, photothermal. Yes, we do have that, but we need to create it, especially for the NanoStar at the moment. And the whole Corona situation is a factor that is not going to, to give us more time to do that. So, in fact, we think that we are going to achieve results at the end of the year, and we will forward them to you as soon as they are available.
Okay, and regarding rejuvenation, is the NanoStar using carbon lotion? Because it's a very common procedure here in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I know that. That's really a trendy procedure. Well, I am in aesthetic medicine in the aesthetic market for many years, and I'm not a great fan of carbon peeling. I think it's a mess. Whenever you use this lotion, you have to have a special optic for that. And you have a consumable, the lotion is a consumable. The treatment is very dirty, very loud, because, it's like these popping sounds all the time. I think you can do a good fractional treatment, or you can do with the fractional handpieces, a really good treatment with quite the same results as we would have it with carbon peeling. And I know the carbon peeling is or the Hollywood peel. I started with market introduction with the name Hollywood peel. And yes, I know it's safe for a lot of skin types, but you have a lot of target for the laser as well. Remember when you work with 1064 carbon peel on the carbon lotion, you have a lot of target for the laser, and all of these little parts of the carbon lotion are going to spread everywhere. So there's a lot of also vaporization, and this is causing, in my opinion, also damage on the optics. And then the doctor will have a consumable again. So he has to change the optic more often than it would be when he's going to use the laser in a normal way. So there are special lasers for carbon peel. I think, yes, carbon peel is good when you want to, when you have a really low budget nanosecond laser and you want to achieve better results and you want to show. But in fact, here we have really good, solid nanosecond laser with fractional handpieces. So just tell the doctors, you don't need the carbon peel anymore. You don't need the carbon treatment anymore, because now you're able to do fractional, really good result with originally no downtime with nanosecond device as well. So this makes a big difference for me.
Another question, can the device be used for hair removal and hair bleaching?
So yes, that's a good question as well. We have the opportunity to do, I don't know if you're going to see that with the millisecond opportunity of the ruby. You're basically able to do a reduction, not a removal, a reduction, and the whitening of the hair. This is possible, yes.
Next question, can we combine anti-yag and ruby laser at the same time for pigmented?
Yes, it's possible as well.
Anh có thể kéo to là cái phần đấy lên đấy, cái phần giảng viên lên, xong đấy kéo nhỏ cái phần đấy xuống, cái phần bài giảng xuống được mà. Để cho ở dưới, anh kéo xuống được. To cái phần giảng viên lên, không phải, cái để cho ở dưới cái dưới đây luôn rồi, đấy.
Yes, So there are different kinds of treatment for vascular lesions. You might know this from PDLs, from pulse dye lasers. You can have two possibilities. You can either have a coagulation effect or a disruption or rupture of the vessel. So whenever you have a rupture, it's going to end with a purpura. And of course, we want to avoid that. So this is also I to look for the slide to show you that. And that's by the way a typical terminology when we're going to look for something. Yeah. So I think it's often it's easier to show it to you visually, and then to so I don't know where I have it, but I have recently shown it to you. Yes, and this is also, this depends on the different wavelengths that you're using when you are treating different kind of cases. So in case we are treating acne scars, we use 1064. And of course, 1064 has an absorption of the hemoglobin. And yes, it's working for that because we are working with, as I said, with nanosecond technology in between a photothermal effect and a photoacoustic effect. So yeah, there are two components that are going to have an effect on the target tissue or the target itself. And in case of vascularization, it's treating the vascular component and the pigmented component at the same time with a different penetration depth and absorptions. So it's possible. Of course, it can you can have a small side effect by purpura, but it depends also on the fluents and yeah, basically then on the fluents that you're going to use. And of course, the spot size. The spot size has an effect on it as well. I'm sorry for that. I wanted to show you the slide, but I cannot find it anymore for the acne scars. But if you provide your data to us, I can send you this slide afterwards or an explanation. Yeah. Okay. We have another one. So that's it for now. We will skip to the part where we are going to treat actively. We're going to treat the tattoo. And I'd like to prepare my program first. So my guinea pig is going to wait me in the clinical room. And she has a bit of numbing cream, a bit of numbing ointment because she is a very sensible person. And that's totally fine. And we will support also with the cryo system. So I will have a microphone and my colleagues are going to assist me. Thanks for that. And we will see each other in a few minutes. I think it's going to be 5 to 10 minutes. So see you later. The possibility to Pico with the treatment without causing any other side. So, as I mentioned before, when we went through the presentation, there is a possibility to do a combination of fractional treatment together with the Pico treatment. So this marks you in case of this exam because you also can feel the pressure that is building up to the treatment. So in this case, I decided to go with the mixed mode. So I have a lot of pigment left. You can see the part here. You can zoom in. Oh yes, I'm going to zoom it in again. So we can see some parts of that's perfect. Another piece. Yeah, here we are. So you can see parts of the pigment that are already removed by the treatment. This area here, when I go over it, I can feel a hyperplasia. So there is a lot. So I decided to go on with this technology, and I will use the synergy of the UV in combination with the NSAID. So I will have a lot of penetration there, and I will have a lot of targets for the UV and in the So this will be the perfect treatment in the case of anemia. And I have to show you that. So here's a little spot where I have already performed a treatment spot to see if I have not dropped it. So what I'm actually having here is a really strong protein of my particular endpoint, and I like to avoid too much. So I don't want to add it. So there's the option to have first a treatment treatment and then combine it with a fractional as well. So in case we have the fractional HIFU available, we can do some kind of session again to show you the treatment with in combination with fractional or better fractional. So I decided to have a feeling. You can see that here. I'm going to see it again. So perfectly, you can see this on camera. So we have the feeling of the UV here and the NDX here. And we have to be at the same time. In case we want to have a treatment with tree removal, we are taking the same time off, and we have a simultaneous emission of the treated waistband at the same time. So I was choosing this kind of treatment. I decided to choose a really small spot size because I wanted to have a higher fluid. As you all know, the bigger the spot size, the more penetration depth you have, but the lower fluid you have. So this kind of marriage to standardized treatment. So I'd like to have a higher fluid, and I'm going to go a bit higher. I'm working because I'm wearing my gloves. Yes. I have the wrong gloves on. So on this presentation here, I will be a bit more stronger with the routine. So I'm changing my gloves. So we have the support of the thermal cooling system here, and the thermal cooling will prevent headache from fading. No, it has really painful evening effect because we have a lot of constriction in cold air, and this is really going to make the treatment itself more comfortable for the patient. So it's highly recommended to use that. So we work, of course, with the optimized profile. And you can see purple. So, of course, purple is uses. Then I will start the engine by pressing ready. You can hear the engine is working. And you have, you see that here. You have a red. Yeah. You have a red aiming beam, a red pilot. So, and also an advantage of using the fluid prior system is that the patient has something to do because she's holding the fiber on her own, and she has something to do, so she's fully concentrated on holding that, and she is more open for the treatment. So I will do a small test book. You can hear the laser beeping when it's ready. Can you see that? Yeah, I'm checking in the camera. Can you see that? You're ready, Helena? Okay, I will do a test book. Can you see that? Yeah, that's really nice endpoint. I will go on. Okay? Okay, let's see. It was 2. Yeah. It was a bit too much for me. I need to wait until the return. Yeah, now we're ready. And as you can see, I've changed parameters. And I also changed repetition rate now. I changed just repetition rate. And it automatically recognizes that. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, can you see that? That's really good. Endpoint. can look at all the parts of my career. You can feel the treatment and the endpoints are perfect. So, of course, when you go into practical part, you should always wear your safety goggles and occasion as well. And you can decide either if you have a very sensitive and nervous patient that wants to have the two goggles or watch the treatment and the mood of the patient as well. So you can see here as the project results. And I think what is really important about using a thermal system, when you have a lot of vasoconstriction and pulling of the skin, you will have less frothing. That's not necessarily needed in terms of a really good clinical endpoint, but you should perform the first test spot without using the thermal systems. Because you then you see a less frothing, and this is going to have an influence on your choose of laser fluids. Popping noise. You see that? So at the end of the treatment, I'm always checking if I have missed something. So I have a small part here that I missed. So we have nearly 2 points. So in fact, that's it. And what is really important as well is when we stop here, that she has, of course, the 7 treatment, but she has also a lot of fibrotic tissue. So I will leave a longer duration between treatments. So up to 6 to 8 weeks program in her case. And you can see maybe she will have small blisters afterwards. It's really necessary to know that you don't have to fix the blisters. So they are just, protecting a surface from your own body. So in case it's a very big blister, of course, you should do a professional opening of the blister by a doctor. And in any other case, it's really highly recommended to use a consumer afterwards to pre-cool or cool afterwards. So in this case, you do an after cooling, or you can use cold pack. So what I use afterwards is some kind of healing ointment. You can use, I will show it to the camera. You can use a cicaplast ointment. That's really nice because it's not occlusive and it has a really nice healing component, really nice healing ingredient. So I'm not into zinc ointments, and I think you should not use something that is too occlusive because the skin needs to breathe, and you also protect the skin from treatment. You can also use a aquaphor. That's also really nice. Maybe recommended for directly afterwards. Use more the aquaphor because it's more protective. And then you can recommend to the patient to buy Cicaplast and to use it whenever, in terms of inflammation, the skin is going to tingle or to itch. So, of course, you should not scratch. Whenever it's going to itch, just apply a bit of ointment so it will fade away. And you can see here we don't have that much of erythema and edema because of the cooling. And I'm not a big fan of foils. So whenever you use a wrapping or a foil, there will be some, wound water coming out, like wound exudates, and it's really, really important that the area can breathe. So whenever you're going to protect the area, then it should be just for a few hours. Afterwards, it should be breathing, be able to breathe. So you're done, Helena. Thanks very much for your support. And that's, our practical part ending here. And I'm open for questions again.
Yes, Verena, there is one question. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So the question is, would you prefer to use a longer interval than 6 to 8 weeks due to the location of the tattoo? I always advise, said our guest, between 8 to 10 or even 12 weeks because of the limited presence of lymphatic vessels.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So whenever you go to the lower extremity, and we also talked about the fact that she was a previous smoker. So she has, of course, she's struggling with the fact of blood circulation. And what she's used to this kind of treatment, so I have to point that out. And what I always tell her is to lay her leg after the treatment, to position it, on another on the table or on another chair, and to prevent this area from swelling. And yes, because of the bad lymphatic drainage, and that is a really good point. Sometimes it takes longer than that. So it can be possible, and we meet each other every week. So I have a really good, view of the situation, and I can say, okay, I think there's not that much going on anymore, and we can proceed with my treatment. But in fact, yes, sometimes even after 8 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks, a change is visible. So yeah, in these kind of areas, on the ankle, it's possible that it's going to take much longer than that. Yeah, I completely agree. Do we have another question?
Verena, there is one question. It's more related to the user interface.
Yes.
So we can.
If you want to go for you.
Yeah.
So I will go to the user interface. Yeah. So everyone says bye, Helena, even if she's not able to hear you. Thank you. Okay, I'm ready, Francesca.
Yes, just if we can have a look at the user interface, the settings, and how to.
I think it's better to here. You can still see me, and you can see the user interface. So we can zoom in. I love technology. So Okay, we can see that. So, don't do anything, I will do it. No. No, it's good. Good. Okay. I'm ready for the question.
No, the question was a general one, just to go through the settings and the different options of the device.
Okay, so we have really, as you can see, it's a really nice and easy to use user interface. So we have, of course, the home button and the start button options. This is a service button that's for the field service engineers. With options, you have the possibility to choose between different languages. So in this case, we provide Italian, Spanish, German, French, and English. We can have a diagnostic level, water level. We have a burst mode. I think I'm going to come to that when we have another session. So that's more detail. I will go to this. I think we will have another session when we have the fractional handpiece also available. That makes sense. So we start, of course, with the start button. That's basically the screen you're going to work with. So you can choose between the fuse switch and the total thermal mode. Here you can see the delay between pulses when you choose the mixed technology, either with half NDX, Ruby, or with NDX and Ruby. So you can have a delay, and we were talking about a delay when in terms maybe for pigmentation. So in terms of tissue removal, I can show you that. So in terms of tissue removal, with fuse switch, we have the pulse delay completely off because it's not necessary there. So there you have the different fluences. So we have the Ruby and the NDX, and you can do settings individually, so not depending on each other. So you can have a delay time here. You can set a delay time. You can set the fluences 2 per centimeter for the Ruby and the NDX. And here you can change the repetition rate. The spot size will be detected automatically when I change the handpiece. And here I was talking, some of you might remember that, I was talking about the counter. And the counter is necessary in terms of paying per pulse, when I tell the patient, okay, I'm not going to pay me by area, but I'm going to treat in terms of tissue removal, I'm going to pay per pulse. But this is something that you have to decide. Here you have the different nodes that you can choose. So also for this one, I want to change. It always wants you to ensure that you are okay with the changes. So yes, I want to change the source. And now I'm in the Ruby and 532 mode. I can switch to the full Ruby mode. And here I have just the Ruby in fuse switch and in total thermal. And you can hear the speed sound. This is, the system telling me that he is ready to work in these settings. Here we have the YAC mode. We have the total thermal, the optical, and we have the physics mode. and just normal NEF modes, and the 532 usage mode. So this is mainly everything. So we can go back to, remember I was working with the mixed technology with 694 and 1064, and we can reset the counter here. So when I'm on the counter, yes, I want to reset the counter, I can do that and go on to another area, and I can, note what kinds of, or how many pulses I need for a special area. Here, there's also the possibility to set laser programs. So whenever you have a preferred parameter, you can set it to your favorite. You can save the parameters. So this is really nice. You have a lot of free slots here, and you can select programs from your own database. So to be very precise here, you don't have presetting, because it doesn't make any sense to have presetting in a two renewable station. So as you might know, and we were talking about that, we need to have a good clinical endpoint, and this is the point where I decide whether I increase or decrease doing. So it's my clinical endpoint that makes the difference here. So most of the time I'm choosing the parameters because of my experience and not because of a database.
Serena, there is one more question. Yes. If we can show, please, also how to change the handpieces.
Yes, I can show that as well. I don't need my glasses anymore. And I'd like to come back to why I'm not very remarked during the treatment with the patient. So I'm fully vaccinated. I already have my 2 vaccinations, and that's the reason why I was not very remarked, because I told her I'm fully vaccinated, and she was fine with that. Just to explain that to you, because I don't want to have rumors at the end of the presentation. Well, the clinical trainer wasn't wearing any mask. That's very unprofessional. So yes, I'd like to show you how to change the handpieces. And as I told you, we have an automatic detection, and we have some kind of magnet inside that is ensuring that it's a very easy change of the handpiece. So I would recommend to you to hold it up. So you have to press the 2 buttons here and to release the handpiece. So I will do it again, okay? So, and you also can hear the beep. So whenever I'm changing something, the system is going to react to that. So it says, okay, mommy, you have changed the handpiece. I know that. So I'm changing the handpiece. You see that I push the 2 buttons here. Push the 2 buttons here and change it. So like this, it's really, really easy. And I change, I push them again, and I'm replacing the other handpiece. And you have the beep of the system again. I will go back to that, and you can see here 5 millimeters. When we zoom to the display again, you can see here, okay, it automatically recognizes I have a new spot size. So that's really, really easy to get. I can also show you how easy it is to change the spacer. Yes. So you can easily, I will do that again. As you might know, it's a very new system. It has been delivered just a few hours ago, so everything is really new. And you just have to change the space so that, and then you can have a proper disinfection or sterilization of the spacing.
Very nice. I have 3 more questions. First one, how do you clean handpieces between patients?
Yes, most of the time we do a wipe, so a wipe disinfection. In terms you don't have any bleedings, or there was not a really contact with liquids. But most of the time, the spaces, they fit to every handpiece. So it makes sense to have a few spaces there, and then to either clean them or change them between patients. So that makes sense. But to be honest, most of the clinics I know and the doctors, they just do a wide disinfection. And you can use something like that. I will show that to you. You can use something like microsit wipes, disinfection wipes, or you can also use something that is appropriate for medical devices.
Okay, one more question. What size do you recommend to start treating with a tool with? Small one, for example, 2 millimeters, or the largest one in order to work faster?
Yes, and so in my opinion, it doesn't have something to do with working faster or slower. So I will always recommend to start with the biggest spot size, because at first, you don't need that much energy because you have a lot of targets. And so whenever you have a lot of targets and you have a fresh tune, or maybe you should, to be honest, you should wait a few months before you start to treat the tune. As in, never will work on a really, really fresh tissue. So start with a bigger spot size to create more penetration in the deeper layers, and you don't need that much spoons. And as you will see with the treatments, you go on to smaller sizes, small spot sizes, because the treatment needs to have more fluids. And whenever you have a small spot size, you're able to be more aggressive in terms of fluids. So that makes sense. To start with a bigger spot and then to continue with a smaller one. And also, when you are working with a bigger spot size and you're fully on your range, you have the highest amount of range of fluids, and if you don't create any critical endpoint anymore, like a frosting, you should also switch to a smaller spot with a high fluids.
Thank you. You're welcome. We have one more question. Is it better to treat the big area of tattoo as a small part in every session, or to treat the whole area together?
So I like this question. This is also a very basic question, but very, very important. So at least in one session, you should treat one of the palmar size. So, when you do a tattoo removal, the body has a lot of inflammation, a lot to do. And it's recommended to do several parts in different settings. That's the theoretical part of it and the clinical part of it. But you also know that tattoo removal is a business. And in business, you want to have a lot of treatments in a short amount of time, to have a lot of patients, to earn a lot of money, to have your return on investment very fast. So in these terms, a lot of doctors, they do a whole back in one session, but then you have created the wound on the whole back. So this is going to let your patient suffer a lot. So I would always recommend to do smaller parts at different sessions. So also when we talk about a leg or an arm, you know, it makes sense to, wherever you have a bad lymphatic drainage, to do it in a few sessions.
Thank you. So we don't have further questions for the moment, but we have some congratulations for you and some thank you from
Thank you very much as well. It was my pleasure. I know we had a lot of guests today, so I think it was about 80, right?
Yes, we had 70 guests online.
Okay, so it was a pleasure to show you the new NanoStar. I will gain some experience with the device over the next couple of weeks, and of course I will share my experience with you, and we'll have another session as well.
Perfect.
So from this side, I'd like to thank you as well, even if I don't have the possibility to see all of you, and I wish you a nice evening or morning or wherever you are on the rest of the world, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Irina. Also, our guests are waving and saying thank you and goodbye.
Okay, goodbye. See you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. Take care.